Hey guys, welcome back to Dylan's Little Hobbies, and in today's video, we are talking about CO2 in the aquarium. I want to say this before we do. Disclaimer, I did as much research as I could before I even tried to touch the stuff, and while this video is going to contain a lot of great information, I highly recommend that you do a lot more research before you ever play with this stuff, because this stuff is actually quite dangerous. So, what is CO2? CO2 is actually the scientific way of saying carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide, I think I've heard of that before. Is I bet what you're doing right now. Yes, carbon dioxide is a poisonous gas to all animal life. Wait, if it's a poisonous gas, then why am I putting it in my tank full of fish? Why am I putting it in my house? The fact is, carbon dioxide is actually already in the air. Every time you walk out and outdoor, carbon dioxide is there. Carbon dioxide is literally part of the air. Just like oxygen is literally part of the air. The fact is, what the human body does, as well as all animals, including fish, we actually breathe in all of our air, we breathe in oxygen, and our lungs separate the air. Our lungs literally separate oxygen from the air that we use for our bodies, and we breathe out carbon dioxide. Even when you're just sitting there, you're always going to be breathing in oxygen and breathing out carbon dioxide. And believe it or not, fish do the exact same thing. So a lot of people think fish are underwater. They don't need to breathe oxygen. Well, every time you take a fish out of water, why does it die? Why does it suffocate without water? Well, the fact is, the fish actually has what's called a gill plate. And what gill plates do is basically when the fish actually swims through the water goes through their mouths, and the water comes out their gill plates, and the gill plates actually capture oxygen and send it to their bodies. Without water, fish cannot do this, which is why they die on land. But the fact is, fish do in fact need oxygen. It's actually really important that you know that when keeping an aquarium, because the fact is, and a lot of people don't think about this, you can actually suffocate your fish underwater. You can actually drown your fish underwater if the water doesn't have oxygen in it. And I know what you guys are gonna say. Well, water is oxygen and hydrogen, so it's always gonna have oxygen. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the air that is actually in the water that the fish are breathing. Now, fish are also breathing out carbon dioxide just like us, except in a glass box where the water is stagnant, nothing is happening at the surface. The carbon dioxide doesn't have anywhere to go, and the oxygen is being depleted. What's going to happen then? Your fish is going to die, because pretty soon it's going to use up all the oxygen, and it will have nothing left but carbon dioxide to breathe in, which is toxic for the fish. Now, what actually happens here is really interesting. It's called surface tension. This is why we need surface tension in the aquarium. The fact is, just having your filter at the top of your tank make just a little bit of movement, just a little bit of current at the top of your tank makes enough of a movement to break the surface of the tank, releasing that carbon into the air and releasing oxygen back into the water. Now, I know what you're saying. That means carbon is being released into your house. The fact is, it actually takes a very high concentrated amount of carbon dioxide to really kill anybody. There's already carbon in the air, so there is no really need to worry about, just like there's always oxygen in the air, there's nothing you can do about it. It's actually kind of crazy to think that there's a poisonous gas everywhere you look. At the same time, there's oxygen everywhere you look, so what can you say about that? Well, anyway, back to the subject at hand. Now that we know that, why would we want to put more carbon into our tanks? Don't we want to just put more oxygen into our tanks? Well, that's actually kind of the goal with aquarium plants. So, in nature doesn't use filters the way we think. We humans made mechanical filters to literally filter our tank and literally break the surface at the top of the aquarium for us. The fact is, nature does something different. Nature, of course, has a rapid movement, breaking the surfaces almost all the time, as well as it has natural filters, not only biological filters, which we also use in our tank. They're called bacteria, but it also uses another type of filtration that you never really think as a filter. Plants. Plants themselves are basically little mini filters. Now, under no circumstances should you ever use just plants to filter your aquarium. The fact is, it is technically possible, but you have to have a very, very large amount of plants to filter water. You have to have so much that you basically have to buy the entire part of nature to do it. I mean, it's crazy how much filtration plants can actually do in the wild, but in the aquarium, you can only have so many plants, you know what I mean? But the fact is, plants do something very important. One, they breathe in carbon dioxide and they breathe out oxygen, which is the exact opposite of what we do. Now, breathing, that's actually a technical term, and let's go with it. There's actually a whole lot more science between what a plant actually does versus what something with lungs like we have actually does. But the basics is humans breathe in oxygen, breathe out carbon dioxide. Plants breathe in carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen. By doing that, you have this continuous cycle that we are dependent on, both us and plants. In fact, here's a little tidbit. You know how a lot of people say talking to your plants is actually really healthy for them? Now, unfortunately, it's not because your plant wants to hear what you have to say, but the fact is, just by sitting there and talking to your plants, you are breathing out carbon dioxide to them, and they will soak it up. They will actually enjoy that more. So by talking to your plants, it could actually help them out to grow. With that said, there's only a certain amount of carbon dioxide you can breathe out. So can that actually make any significant growth on plants? That would be an interesting experiment, but there's nothing to really prove that. However, back to the topic at hand, when it comes to plants underwater, plants of course breathe in carbon dioxide, breathe out oxygen into the water, and it makes this perfect cycle for your fish. However, like with humans, fish can only produce so much carbon dioxide, and they can only produce so much waste. The fact is, plants also, as filters, suck up nutrients from fish waste, and it's just not enough. So a lot of the times, this is why in planted aquariums, not only do we put aquarium soil into the tank to feed our plants more, but you might actually need a little bit more carbon dioxide in your tank as well to help the plant grow. A lot of plants actually grow a lot faster if they have more carbon dioxide. And don't worry about putting carbon into your tank either, because as carbon dioxide is being expelled from your fish and from the tank and stuff like that, your plants are going to soak that up and they're going to expel more and more oxygen for your fish. It's actually really healthy if you have enough plants in your tank, that is. The fact is, many plants though do like carbon dioxide, and there's also one more thing to actually mention. If you put carbon dioxide in your tank, the fact is plants need sunlight to produce photosynthesis, which means they take up the carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen. So at night, unless you have something that already turns off that CO2 tank itself, you're going to want to get something like that, because at night plants don't absorb carbon dioxide at all. So that's just something to mention. They need light to produce photosynthesis. They need light to produce oxygen. But that is all kind of the science behind that, which is why I am going to be using carbon dioxide in my tank. Now, here's the thing. Carbon dioxide, or CO2 tanks is what they're actually called. CO2 tanks are actually really, really expensive, and then you have all of the equipment that needs to go with them. And it can kind of rank up eventually. So for a beginner that's just starting to get into it, the best way to really get into it is by doing a DIY CO2 system, which is what I am going to do. And DIY, do it yourself. You're probably thinking, oh no, I can't do DIY, I can't do it myself, I'm gonna have a leak or something, something's gonna go wrong. Well, the fact is they actually sell a DIY, do it yourself kit that is actually just on Amazon. You can just go on Amazon and look it up. Some of them can range between $10 and $20. Mine was about $17, so that's actually really, really handy. Let's go ahead and get it and unbox it for you guys. Alright, here's the box. I'm not paid for, sponsored, or supported by Rhino X at all. This is just me messing around with this kind of stuff. And it's taped. I'm gonna need my knife one more time. And this knife is always giving me trouble on getting it out. It's an old blade. Okay. You will also need for this project 2 water bottles, which I actually have. The best bottles to use is actually 2-liter soda bottles, which again I actually have. You'll also need a check valve, as well as a bubble counter to actually count how much CO2 is going into your tank. And CO2 line. I think that's obvious. Do not use just regular tubing, bubble tubing for your aquarium CO2 system. Actually get some CO2 line. This tape does come with some, but you're probably going to want to buy a little bit more, depending on the size of your tank. So, let's go ahead and show you what's up. So, there is the valve. Now, I believe this has, yes, but you can barely see it. One says A, one says B. And this is really important. So, A goes with citric acid, which is something else you need. You also need baking soda and water to do the whole system together. And then I'm assuming this is the directions. Yes. Except it's in Chinese, so I can't read it. Fortunately, I actually already know what it says because it's actually a really easy system. All you have to do is when you do the citric acid, that is going to go into 1 to 3 water. So if you do a cup of citric acid, you're going to do 3 cups of water, and baking soda is a 1-to-1 ratio. So you'll have a baking soda, 1 cup of water. And that's how that works. The acid will go, and I know it's Japanese, but I already know how to do it because I've watched other videos. So the acid goes into the bottle with this, and then the baking soda goes with the valve. That's really, really important that you do, in fact, know that. And again, these just actually fit right on top of a soda bottle, so that works. And they work best if you use a 2-liter soda bottle. Alright, now I just need to go get all of the stuff to really set it. This one does not, but this is another way you can remember B. B for the tank. So the baking soda, the B is going to be before the tank. So you're going to want to put the valve on the B before it goes into the tank. That's another great way to remember it. And now that's exactly what I'm going to do. So, another thing you want to do, shake them up. Shake them up. Okay. So, B going in baking soda, and this just screws right on top. And I want to say this, I should have said it before, but this is actually my first time actually doing this project. So this is another reason why, while I did do a lot of research and I sound like I know what I'm talking about, I will say this. This is my first time doing this project, and I highly, highly recommend that you actually look up some more videos about it. I will leave a link down in the description below to not only the Keenan DIY channel, but a couple other videos that do the exact same CO2 process that know what they're doing more than I am. With that said, it's a pretty easy process. I make it sound a little bit more complicated than it actually is for the sake of my videos. There we go. Alright. Just making sure that they are screwed on tight. I mean, you don't want them so tight that you can't get them off, but you want them tight enough so there isn't going to be a leak. Alright, that will do it. And now, the next thing to do is make sure that this is closed. Make sure that this is closed. And then you're going to want to pump this out. Hey guys, guess what? I actually found out on the front of the box that all of the directions are actually on the front of the box. I also want to tell you guys that I'm going to leave everything I bought in the description below. Go ahead and enjoy. Back to the video. Alright, so let me show you what I have here. It's all done. I got this. The pressure gauge is green. The bottle with the citric acid. Then it goes down into the baking soda. The baking soda has a check valve to close and open. And then it's streamed into what is called a bubble counter, which really helps you track how much CO2 is getting into your tank. And then I have a check valve. A check valve is actually really important to make sure if when you turn this off, the water back siphons, the tubing back siphons, and no water gets into the thing from your tank or anything like that. It's really important to have one of these. Other than that, I do have a CO2 diffuser inside the tank, and I'm going to set it up right now. And that will be all. Thank you guys for watching, and I'm out.